If I had one more day with you, that would be like a dream come true. I'd tell you all the things I wish you knew about how I feel about me and you. I wouldn't dwell on any of the bad or talk about things that might make you sad. You can't imagine how it would make me glad to reminisce on all the fun times that we've had. Oh, how I wish I could stop right now and turn back time. I wouldn't take a single moment for granted. It would be so divine. If you had one more day with me, I'd try to make your day so really sweet. We wouldn't take the time to disagree. I'd make our time all that it could be. We'd probably sit and we would talk a while. I'd try to make you laugh to see you smile. I know you crack some jokes about my style. My love for you goes on for thousands of miles. Oh, how I wish I could stop right now and turn back time. I wouldn't take a single moment for granted. It would be so divine. Ba-do ba-do do way oh way oh way oh bo day. Ba-do ba way ba-do bo way ba-do bo day. Ba-do ba way ba-do ba-do ba ba way ba boo way ba boo. Ba-do ba-do da ba-do ba ba-do ba-do do way oh way oh ba-do way ba boo day da ba bo day. Way ba-do ba-do ba way ba-do ba-do ba way ba-do bo da ba 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 way ba-boo ba-do ba-do ba-da. Oh, how I wish I could stop right now and turn back time. I wouldn't take a single moment for granted. It would be so divine. I know I don't have one more day with you. I know I'm dreaming, but I wish it could be true. I'll tell you one more thing I wish you knew. I treasure every thought that I have of me and you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the celebration of the life of John Homer. Just a little reflection off script is that as I was listening to that music, I was so pleased to hear the Hawaiian theme. John was so reminiscent about his time in Hawaii, and that really spoke to me and maybe to you too. I want to make a special acknowledgement and a welcome to members of John's family who are here with us today. Many of you may not know that they, by virtue of John, certainly are part of the Olivet College family, but many themselves are alums of Olivet College. And so we welcome you. Our hearts, our prayers, our thoughts have been with you and will continue to be with you. Thank you so much for sharing John with us. Today is a celebration of John's life, meant so much to so many in the Olivet College family. I'm comforted to say that he knew that. He absolutely knew that. And that's why he wanted to continue to teach for so long and was constantly reminding us that he would be here and he would be here and he would be here. And he was. He was a colleague, professor, the senior most, the venerable, a teacher, a mentor, a sage advisor, a friend, and many other identities that he carries in the hearts of each one of us. We celebrate John today, and it's a chance to remember him, to share a few stories and the impact that he made on so many. A story that I tell most of the new students during orientation groups epitomizes John's commitment to student success, and frankly, no bullshit. And this is the story of really recognizing that you cannot come to Olivet College and be anonymous. There are other places where that is absolutely almost guaranteed, but this is not one of them, I say. To many of you, you might remember as I tell this story again, if I told it at your orientation. But professors get to know you, and we'll hear more about that. And they notice you. They notice your presence, and they notice your absence. And the story that I tend to tell is that John had noticed that a particular student had missed several classes. And he decided one day, all right, where is he? And the response from students in the class were, oh, well, he's back at the dorm in his room. And John says, all right, pack up your stuff. Everybody get your stuff. We're going. And off went the whole class to the dorm, out of bed, and they convened class there at the dorm. So, true story. And John was proud of that. He was proud of that story and proud of demonstrating in a humorous way on the one hand and in a very serious and compelling way to others that I notice you, I care about you, and we're not going to leave you behind. And I find it to be a very powerful story with new students and with their families and their parents in the same sort of way about sort of the ethos of what Olivet College is. And certainly, I think most of us recognize that John exuded that ethos of Olivet College and defined it in so many ways. John came by the office quite often, actually more often than, I'm not keeping score or anything, but I've got to say, I think John came by the office more often than any other faculty member and maybe more than any other person than maybe the provost who has to come by my office all the time. He's certainly the most frequent voluntary visitor to the office. Be working away, as some of you know, I sit with sort of my side to the door, and I don't like to keep my door closed, but often I'm working on the computer or doing who knows what. Well, work, of course. And I'd look to the left, and there he is, sitting out there on the couch, just chatting. He had no particular agenda than to stay connected, and he cared. Now, I will say that cookies are also helpful, right? And so if Barb had treats, people sometimes would stop by and bring treats, or Barb would bring treats. I have absolutely no idea how he knew treats were there, but I think that was an influencer. So today, I thought that some cookies, some treats, some cookies would be appropriate. He loved coming by and sharing cookies. And actually, I will give him credit, often brought cookies. And so in today's celebration and remembrance in John, we have some cookies in place. And if there's any question about whether he's with us today, I'm absolutely sure that he is. So with that, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, alumnus and chair of the Board of Trustees, a friend of mine and many others, and certainly John's, Tim Hodge.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. And it's so great to see so many people here. And I got to start by saying, yep, I'm Dr. Tim Hodge, and I'm the chair of the Board of Trustees of Olivet College. It's an honor, absolutely an honor to be here today and to be able to share and to enjoy the celebration of life, and that's exactly what Dr. Homer wanted to be, a celebration of life. But if you knew me, you'd know that I'm a physician, but I'm more like Dr. Homer in that I would normally just go off script and I would speak from the heart about whatever. And then I started preparing for this. And I thought, man, I don't know if I can remember everything enough to kind of talk about Dr. Homer, but I'm going to try it anyway. And if I don't do okay, I'll just pull out my cards. I mean, he taught me how to do that too. And I got to be also totally open and honest. I never had a formal class by Dr. Homer, but he did teach me much. So as I said, I'm honored to be here, honored to speak with you, and it's great to see so many people. I see people from all different fraternities here, and I would like to think that he liked the Kappa Sigs most. Don't, I see the Adelphics there. It's okay, I know that's not true. Because he was everywhere, honestly. He was at all the fraternity houses, and what was he doing there? He was teaching. He didn't teach me any economics. As a matter of fact, I didn't have economics till long after medical school. And I was like, man, John, this is hard. You could have helped me a little bit when I was there in school. He was still accessible to me. And the truth is, I started here in 1979. And that's when I met Dr. Homer, 1979. I had no idea that he had just gotten here too. I don't know what would possess him to come here from Hawaii, but I was thankful. So Dr. Homer had what I call that inviting persona. And he combined it with his passion for teaching. You know those people who can't stop teaching? On the other side of him was that passion for learning. And you could tell that he had a diverse interest because he could talk to you about many different things. I couldn't talk to him about economics because I didn't know anything about it, but we could go on for hours. And you could see Dr. Homer anywhere in the classroom or outside. He was one of the first people to make it clear that learning did not stop once you exited the classroom. So you could see him, and yes, he stopped at the fraternity house. You could see him down at Carl's Supermarket, where we all went from time to time, or you could see him at all sorts of sporting events. He would be at soccer. He would be at basketball. He would be at wrestling. And I was thinking for a while, don't you teach a full? And back then, teachers taught probably an overload, not just a regular full. But he seemed to have time to go and contribute everywhere, and he would teach. He could teach about politics, he could teach about history, he could teach about geography, he could teach about sports. And then you get the weird feeling that he learned something from teaching you. And he got an appreciation from teaching you more than you got yourself. I must say, what I appreciated most about Dr. Homer, though, was that Dr. Homer lived the Olivet Compact before there was a compact. And you might say, what do I mean? Dr. Homer treated everyone with respect before it was a popular thing to say or even thought of to do. He always communicated with honesty and integrity, even when you didn't want to know what he had to say. Even when it was going to be hard, he still gave you the honesty, the truth. And Dr. Homer always focused on development and growth of the organization. And I've been here long enough to know where we were when I got here in 1979. I thought it was a phenomenal place, and it still feels like home to me. But when I look at the growth that has occurred over his 4 decades, most of you guys are like, 4 decades? I see a lot of people out there who aren't even close to 4 decades old. He contributed to 4 decades at a time when most people change jobs every 4 to 7 years. He continued to contribute and grow Olivet College, and I can guarantee that we are far better for his contributions. And I want to emphasize one other thing. We are celebrating John's life, but individual contributions are from collective giving. And by that I mean John had a tremendous family, a great wife, and all of that support is what allowed him to have this tremendous life contribution. And so, John, today, I think of you, when I think of you, I think of two words. The first one is exemplary. You lived a life that was an example for many. And second, I think of legend. Dr. John Selby Homer is a legend, an Olivet College legend, an Olivet community legend. And his legend, the legend of his life, will live on for many years to come. And I pray that we have professors today that are like John Homer. That's it. Thanks.
They said I had 20 minutes. My name's Tom Burke. I graduated in 1982. And the Homer family, I'm so sorry for your loss. I was a big fan of John's, and we were good friends. I think I was in John's first class in 1979. And let me tell you how I met Dr. Homer and became friends. That class was an economic class, and it was a 200 series class. It was the second. And I was kind of fascinated by econ. I thought it was an interesting subject. So I studied it pretty hard, and I liked this class. The first time that I really had a long conversation with Dr. Homer was he had given a test. And this was interesting. The test was hard, but it wasn't on the material in the book. It was about whether or not you read the book and understood the material and how you could apply it. And back then, they would post your scores on the wall after class. I don't know if they do that now anymore. They took your last 4 digits of your social security number, which probably would be very bad now, but they put it on the wall. And so, after class, Doc Homer would put that out, and the class was probably 18, 20 people, and we'd run out there and see, so I looked, and I made my social security number, and lo and behold, I didn't do that well. And I was disappointed because I really enjoyed the content, and I thought, what did I miss here? So class is done, and I think this was in the spring. So after class, it's hard work, so you're thirsty. So there was an establishment here in town that I'm pretty sure is not on the Michigan Best Places to Eat. It was called Jan and Don's. And so I'm coming out and I'm driving down, I think this road right here, and there's Doc Homer walking. So I rolled my window down and said, "Hey, you got a minute?" And he says, "Yeah, what do you need?" And I said, "Well, I have some questions." And he gives me one of these. Okay, this is, apparently he lived right down there. So I pull up, and I had an old beat-up Mustang, and of course, you couldn't go anywhere in 1979, 1980 without a cooler in your car. And so I get to his house, and we start talking, and I was asking him about the test because I was really curious. I'd put forth a pretty good effort, and I didn't think I thought I should deserve better, but I didn't. So what happened was we had this conversation, and I was asking him about the test and the content. And I said, "Doc, wait a minute. I have a beer in the car. Do you want a beer?" He goes, "Sure." Well, Stephen, you use cookies. I use beer. Okay. So Doc and I stood outside, and I asked him about, what were you trying to get across with this test? What really was the message? And he explained it to me. It was very clear. Did you read the material? Did you understand it? And how would you apply it? Which is what education's all about. That's what we're supposed to be learning. So we stood there for quite a while, and I asked him some other questions, and he said, I'm going to teach some other classes that you might be interested in. And I said, well, what are they? And he said, well, I'm going to teach government economics. And I was kind of perplexed by that because, with 1979, the government wasn't really something that most people were thinking about, but I didn't think there was much economics in government. But he went on to explain things like, the intricacies of the money supply, M1 and M2, and he said, by the way, I'm going to have some guest speakers come in and talk to people. And lo and behold, the next series of classes that we had, he brought in people from Detroit, and he brought in speakers. He brought in some of the most interesting people to listen to. And the classes were packed, and you paid attention because it was interesting material. It was very, very interesting. So after I graduated, we had stayed in touch. And when I came up, I always saw John or called him or talked to him. He was a true teacher. He was a true individual and a very good friend. He was, as Dr. Hodge said, he was a mentor to some fraternities, which, he had a unique ability to point out some of the poor decisions that we were making and how not to make those again. And some of us listened, some of us didn't. And he pointed that out too. But Doc was a true educator. He was a very, very good person. So when you think about Dr. Homer and you think about Olivet College, what really is it? Olivet College is a beautiful place. This is beautiful, buildings, trees. It's a beautiful place on the hill. But what really, really makes it what it is people like Dr. Homer. They're the keystone of this college. He is the building block of this college. And it can be Dr. Homer, it can be Dr. Spear, it can be Dr. Gruen, it can be Art Stevens, Dr. Vince Seagren. The list goes on and on and on. And those people are the people that make our experience here worthy and be with us for the rest of our lives. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is, we're all here to celebrate Doc. He gave us all something, whether he made a phone call for you, whether he came over and got you out of bed to get you in class, whether he did something to prompt you to be a better person, to become engaged, to learn. So what I'm going to challenge you to do is, I want you to do that for someone else. I want you to pass that on. If you can help somebody, if you can make a call, if you can knock on somebody's door and say, hey, get up and go in, or even after you graduate, if you can help somebody, do it. That's what Dr. Homer did. He always helped people. And he was a true, true teacher and a very, very good person. I will miss him dearly. I am sorry for your loss. And he is and always will be my friend. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Well, I've been around the college a long time. I was born and raised at this college. My dad worked at the college with Art's dad. He was here before Art's dad came here. He befriended Art's dad. One of my stories about John is actually when I was little. I was learning to bird hunt. John came out to our house, was going hunting with my dad. My dad had a ritual of, back in the day, remember, taking a shot of whiskey before he went out to go bird hunting. I thought I'd like to try some. My dad said, okay. John advised him that was a bad choice when I figured out that I liked it. But that was John. He wasn't afraid to call you on your mistakes and let you know that was a bad idea. He's done a lot for this community, for my children, doing things for the Olivet Community Schools here on the campus, involved everywhere, mentoring, teaching, just being John. He gave my oldest daughter nicknames, Nickel Fritz, where it came from, but he always knew everything about my kids. Whether it's because he went and visited Nicole because she had a snack, I'm not sure. But he always seemed to know stuff about my kids that I would find out from him because I saw him in passing. But loaning a Hawaiian shirt from his days because my father-in-law decided he wanted to go on a cruise with his wife. My father-in-law didn't have a Hawaiian shirt, so John made sure to bring him one in. So he had a Hawaiian shirt for his cruise. It was the thoughtfulness and his natural ability to take in everything you talked to him about and be able to bounce it back to you and make you feel special. Like your relationship was different from everybody else's. Not everybody can do that. I can talk to people, I can try to be listening and good and try to remember things, but I'm not going to remember all those little things like John could do. It's just not my gift. He had that gift, and he passed it on to everybody along with his teaching skills and how he used to pass it on to everybody. He shared something with my wife in her graduating class back in 1995. I'm going to share that with you. I'm also offering a copy of this to Art. It's something that I believe he created. It's graduating May 7th, 1995, and it's titled To Someone Special. The charge. Your faculty has and continues to expect you to conduct your lives in a responsible manner. The challenge. Among the many challenges facing you, the necessity to interact with effectively with information is among the most important. You have the ability to access, process, assimilate information. The challenge will be to use it effectively and responsibly. The fact, through the hard work and patience that has brought you to this day, you have differentiated yourselves from the vast majority of the world's population. You can think analytically and critically. You are problem solvers. You are special. And then he had some musings down below. The future belongs to those who prepare for it, rather than wait to have it happen. Leadership, the best leaders are clear. They always carry the torch. They light the way. They let every person know what they do makes a difference. Excellence. It is difficult to miss. When you come upon it, your breath is taken away. Excellence is extremely valuable commodity, but it cannot be bought. All around you are enriched by your best efforts. Each job you do is your signature. Your name is only as good as the quality of work that you do. Commitment. There is no wavering commitment to no uncertainty, no hesitation. Your actions are there for all to see. People can spot commitment from a mile away. And then a little later, on being a Chicago Cubs fan. Faith, hope, frustration, and patience. On being human, love, understand, and forgive. And then on staying sane, I think more so nowadays than ever, is learn to laugh. And that's my take on John Homer. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. That was fabulous. Thank you also to our speakers thus far. It's now my pleasure to introduce our student readers. Kyle Robinson is a member of the football team. Alexandra DeVault, who is a member of the Inter-Society Council for Greek Life. And Delaney Peters, who's a business major. And I think it's significant that we have members of those organizations here. The football program was a special program that John adopted, and some of you might know or might not know that I was an athletic trainer early in my career, and so he and I talked about his interest in volunteering out at the football field, and he was quite concerned that our student athletes were safe, that they were supported. And he shuttled water, and I have to tell you, it took me a long time to get I've been doing higher ed for a long time, and I've been around athletics for a big portion of that, and then as a member of the faculty, and then working with faculty, and the idea that the senior-most professor would go out reliably, year after year, on day zero, shuttling water, was something that I just had a hard time getting my head around, and it speaks to what a special person that John was. We've already heard about the testimonies and his commitment to Greek life and the success of students in Greek life, the hard messages that sometimes he would send, but just the unwavering support for their experience and their success, and obviously with his commitment to the business program in so many ways. And so I welcome each of these students to come up and share a little bit with us from their perspective.
Hello, I am Kyle Robinson, and I am here on behalf of the football team. I am also an insurance major, so I had Doc Homer for 2 classes as well. Being on the football team, we saw the old guy filling up water bottles, and we were always curious on who it was. Started hearing about his classes freshman year and was told that they were so hard. He just filled water bottles during our summer camp in August, but then I got to know him as he was in Mott. Being a football player, you knew you had to go to his 750s every Tuesday and Friday morning, or you'd hear about it later from the coaches. Even if you weren't the most attentive in his classes, he would ask how you were doing and how the team was doing. Along with that, after our 6 a.m. Friday workouts that we have, he would always tell us we looked nice and perky or fine and dandy when we walked into his classroom. Those on the football team learned from Doc Homer that procrastination is not a way to get through life. He had great stories that gave us examples from his personal life so we could learn from his mistakes. And if you did decide to procrastinate, he would play you the world's tiniest violin. Overall, Doc Homer was a very important part of the football team and one of the best professors you could have asked for. Thank you for all the valuable life lessons, Doc Homer.
Hello, my name is Alexandra DeVault, and I'm here on behalf of the Greek community. I stand before you to honor our fallen professor, Doc Homer. John Homer was charismatic. He spread his love for this campus with wherever he went. Not only was he heavily involved with the athletic community and student body as a whole, but he took it upon himself to get to know and be a part of our wonderful Greek community here at Olivet College. With just a mention of his name, stories flood to show with how extraordinary this man truly was. Stories of him coming to Sororian to tell ghost stories, students having dreams filled with cursive handwriting, students even mentioning their first encounter with the man being at Kappa Sigma Alpha shindigs. And we also could never forget the routine he had of coming downstairs to Mott to buy a pastry to support whichever Greek's house was selling them to raise money. As I go on and share these wonderful stories, as you would soon catch on, there is one thing in common with all. Professor John Homer didn't need to do any of these things for us students, but he took it upon himself to always show up and show out no matter what time of the day, which sometimes was really late. John Homer treated each individual on this campus as an equal, regardless of the letters or numbers that filled your chest. He made it not only his job to teach those who attended Olivet in general, but to teach how we are all one, a family here at Olivet. We are blessed to have had Dr. Homer in our lives. Thank you.
Hi. It's been a rough day. So my name is Delaney Peters, and I'm actually not a business major, fun fact. I'm an actuarial science major. I'm a senior. And I apologize, grief, it's everyone different. But I'm here to speak on behalf of the business department. The first day I met Dr. Homer was easily the most memorable day of my academic career. It was a 7:50, of course. My advisor sent me a list, like, you could take an extra class. And I'm like, let's take economics. I can get it out of the way. 7:50 in the morning, first day class. So it's the first day of classes, and I sat in one of those really awkward desks that, like, the table isn't big enough for a notebook, and you have to, like, lean at an awkward angle to write. But I was like, oh, whatever, pulled out my supplies and waited for class to start. Homer walks in with his grade book under his arm, and he starts class. Within the first 10 minutes, I feel overwhelmed and wondered if my degree or college in general was the right choice. Microeconomics sounded terrifying, and little did I know some of my classmates that day would drop, but with utter determination to prove myself wrong, I asked Dr. Homer how he wanted me to make his 4-point outline for my homework, and I went to my next class. It would have been so easy for me to drop his class, but I've never been a quitter when it came to challenging academics. I decided to talk to him after every single class period to make sure I was on track, making sure my graphs were perfect, and I started to develop a relationship of respect with him. After a couple weeks, I made the bright idea to make his class an honors option. So if I didn't get enough of microeconomics, I got way more. And with that, I got to spend some more time with Homer, and we talked about economics, but not only that, we talked about our lives. I learned about his military service, and he told me some of the practical jokes he played on his superiors, and he had always asked me about my career path as well and how my family was, and he always told me I'd be successful. Homer was a wonderful human being, and he prepared me for college in the best way. I loved saying hi to him in the hallway between classes, and I enjoyed asking how the new classes were adjusting to working on their comprehensives, or walking by the computer lab like the week of finals and see somebody staring at the computer. I'm like, they waited to the last minute, didn't they? It's okay. Everybody does it at some point. I did not. I even made a point to see him on Halloween while wearing my inflatable dinosaur costumes because they always made him smile and laugh. And I wish I would have taken a picture of his face when I walked into his office on Halloween with like a half deflated inflatable costume and my notes in one hand. And I'm like, I have a question. And he's like, first, can you tell me what that is? And I was like, do you want a picture? And he's like, okay. And so you have those very ear-to-ear smile pictures of Homer. He was the first person who told me about COVID before it hit the US, and it was in when I took macro with him, and we didn't think much of it. None of us did. And little did we know that his predictions would come true. With COVID running rampant in our lives, I feel that I kind of lost touch with him in some way because everyone's wearing masks and distancing and things weren't the same. But I always made an effort to wave or say hello because I'm sure he'd find me later and be like, why didn't you wave? Why didn't you say hi? How are you doing? And at the end of last semester, I wish I would have said, happy holidays, or something. That would have been a fitting goodbye, because I know he'd do the same. But none of us, no one had the idea that, his time would be cut short. I'm sorry. Homer's always going to be someone that I look up to, and I will deeply miss him as I hit milestones in my life because Homer's been around forever. He was going to be at my wedding. I'm pretty sure. He'd be 100, but he'd be there. But I always wanted to make him proud. He was like a father figure in some ways. And I kept bugging him because, he never wore a tie. But he had this one super silly tie he'd wear to like honors convocation. So I'm like, Homer, you gotta wear that at graduation. And I know it'll be there in spirit. I know I'm not the only person with these types of experiences with Dr. Homer, which is great. But these types of experiences with him are what made him such a fantastic and caring professor for so many people. I want to thank the Homer family for sharing him with us, because we have so many stories. And he will be deeply missed every day. All of it will not be the same without him, but his loyalty and dedication to the college and the students will never be forgotten. Thank you.
You got me going a little bit, so appreciate that. My name's Dane Pavlovsky. I'm an Olivet College grad. Did not have the pleasure to have Dr. Homer in class. I would like to think I was smart enough to stay away in the conservatory mostly, but I am now a faculty member, and today I'm talking because I'm the Faculty Senate President. And as Faculty Senate President, we as the Senate and the faculty crafted a resolution in honor of Dr. John Homer, so I'd like to share that with everyone today. Whereas John S. Homer was a professor, mentor, colleague, and friend who served Olivet College for 40 years. Whereas Dr. Homer taught, mentored, and inspired students at a variety of institutions, including those over 40 years here at Olivet, where he received many accolades and awards during his tenure as professor, including the Peggy and Gordon Reith Miller Advising Award, the Peggy and Gordon Reith Miller Teaching Award, the John J. Shippert Award, the Presidential Award, the Insurance Program Award, and the 1844 Alumni Award, among others, and some of those multiple times. Whereas Dr. Homer was a member for over 25 years of the American Association of Higher Education and the American Association of Colleges and Universities, and a frequent presenter at numerous national conferences. We had to shorten the list because it was too many pages. After looking at his CV, thank you, Dr. Tim Flynn, for the work there as well. Whereas Dr. Homer was not only a distinguished and dedicated educator, but also a man who demonstrated great care and compassion for his students, always taking an interest in their professional, academic, and personal welfare, working tirelessly to that end. Whereas John also served the community through the Olivet College and Olivet High School athletic and band programs, as chaperone at the high school for camps, competitions, and other activities. He also served water at football practices and at games at Olivet High School and Olivet College, demonstrating his remarkable care for the whole student. Whereas John was a beloved colleague and friend who possessed a quick wit and offered a kind word, whether passing in the hallways of Mott Academic Center or crossing the square on his way to lunch or in a faculty or Senate meeting. Whereas John's untimely and sudden passing has left his colleagues, friends, and family with a profound sense of loss and a hole in our hearts. Whereas the faculty, staff, and administration of Olivet College are truly grateful for the presence of Dr. John Homer, in their lives as a man of integrity, kindness, and humor, as we gather on this 23rd day of February in 2022 to remember his many contributions and achievements. Now therefore it be resolved that Olivet College, its faculty, staff, and administration will create a lasting memorial to Professor John S. Homer, Doc Homer, on its campus as a tribute to his dedication and love for this college and the community, and as a perpetual sign of gratitude for the work he has done here for over 40 years. Thank you, John.
I'm Maria Davis, provost at Olivet College, and I had the genuine privilege to know John for the past 28 years. He was one of the first people I met here when I joined the faculty. There will forever and always be only one Dr. John Homer. On the occasion at which we celebrated his 50th year of college teaching, 42 of those here at Olivet, I called him the Venerable Dr. Homer, and he seemed to really like that. We bantered on numerous occasions about just what that word venerable meant. You see, of course, he went and looked it up and discovered that to venerate means to regard with great respect, to revere. But he also learned that the word venerable means conveying an impression of aged goodness and benevolence. And he liked to joke that he wasn't sure if I was calling him greatly respected or if I was just calling him old. John never seemed old to me, though. In spite of working past what might be called the usual retirement age by almost 2 decades, he still reveled in learning and was always trying something new in his teaching. That meant a lot to me as the chief academic officer, and it made him an excellent role model for the faculty and for me too. John was never one to rest on his laurels. He was always trying to learn and trying to be better. You've heard some really great stories about Doc Homer today, from taking his class to meet an absent student at their dorm room. Someone mentioned, I think, his emphasis on writing cursive as a way to learn. And it's very clear from everything we've heard that John was 100% committed to this thing called education. He always stood up for what was right and good. My last conversation with him was over lunch the day before the December faculty meeting. At one point, he excused himself, got up out of his chair, and went over to tell a small group of students to watch their language after he heard a few too many F-bombs flying around. That was John, a person of great principle who was always willing to act on those principles. At that same lunch, I told John of my plans to return to the faculty next year. His immediate reply to me was that I needed to join him and the other curmudgeons in the back row at the faculty meetings. I said I would be honored to do so. He was always, as you've heard, doing and saying things to make people feel special and included. John once told me that he never intended to retire. His exact words to me were, "I want to die here." He went on to elaborate that he wanted to leave the Mott building on a gurney with a sheet over him. And once I recovered from the initial shock of what he was saying, I realized that what he was telling me was that he never saw himself leaving this place as long as he lived. That's how strong his commitment to Olivet College was. That's how committed he was to his students and to their learning. He was just planning to keep giving and doing what he loved as long as was humanly possible. Dr. John Homer was definitely one of a kind, a true giant among the faculty. Dr. Hodge called him a legend. I like that too. He was an exceptional educator and an extraordinary human being. The title Professor Emeritus is an honorary title reserved for longtime faculty members who have demonstrated exceptional service to Olivet College and to their field or community. It's granted only after retirement and only to the very best of the best. John never planned to retire, but he was absolutely one of the best. Late last December, several faculty members asked President Corey and me if they could nominate John for emeritus status posthumously. We quickly agreed that we would support an exception to the rules so that we could indeed honor John this way. And so I am pleased to tell you that in recognition of his exceptional service to both college and community, the venerable Dr. John Homer will be awarded the title Professor Emeritus of Business and Economics by vote of the Olivet College Board of Trustees at their meeting this coming Friday. If ever there was someone worthy of that title, it is Dr. John Homer. He invested all of himself in the people of Olivet, students, faculty, staff, community members, and helped us be better versions of ourselves. Thank you, Dr. Homer. You made a lasting impact and a tremendous difference here. We will treasure you forever. Thank you.
exit stage right. Hot mic. Wow. Thank you, Capella Comets. A student-organized and led group. Even more impressive. Well, wow, today, what a fabulous celebration of life. What a fabulous celebration of the impact that John had, as I had said earlier, on so many over an extended period of time. Through the stories and testimonials from the 70s, from the 80s, from the 90s, from the 2000s. John lives on, absolutely, positively, in the lives of the thousands and thousands of people that he influenced, those of us in this room, across the country, and around the world. I appreciate and recognize the authenticity of these stories and the emotive element that thinking about and recognizing John's impact has on all of us. It's something to be treasured and cherished. I want to, as soon as I find my place in my book here, I want to thank everyone for participating today, for coming today, for those of us who are here in this beautiful church, and for those who weren't able to join us physically today but have been participating and having their own experience wherever they may be online or who may view this in the days and weeks and months ahead. Next, I want to call forward Reverend Michael Fales to provide our benediction, which will be followed by the singing of the alma mater, and then ask everyone to remain standing while the recessional occurs, led by the college mace. Reverend Fales.
John's family invites all of you to join them at the Kemp Funeral Home this Friday, beginning at 4 o'clock, to visit and reminisce. And then again on Saturday at 11 o'clock in the morning here at the Olivet Congregational Church for the Family Memorial Service. Those of you who would like to, and especially Kappa Sig and Adelphic actives and alumni, are invited to gather at the Cutler Center at 10:45 to accompany the hearse here to the church to begin the service at 11. The college is sponsoring a luncheon that you're all invited to after the service on Saturday in Clock Commons. It's not always easy living here in Olivet, but for those of us who do, we have a different relationship with our colleagues. They are not just acquaintances we say hi to in the hallway on our way to class. They are our neighbors and our friends. As there are no secrets in Olivet, we pretty much know everything about each other. Our children go to the school together. Many of us go to the same church. We even know what the other family's will be on the other family's table for dinner as we shop in the same stores. So John wasn't just my faculty colleague, he was my friend and my neighbor. Our son Doug learned martial arts from John's wife Joni, and his daughter Elizabeth was brave enough to babysit our 3 boys. The John Homer I knew took the time to know the things that were important to me. He knew the challenges we faced in our academic lives, but also at home. He knew each of our children personally and regularly asked about them. John never walked down my hall without stopping in my office. I never passed him in the hallway without having an in-depth conversation about someone, mostly my family. That's the kind of colleague that anyone would want. Someone who takes the time to show interest, someone who takes the time to care. Now, as we leave this wonderful celebration of John's life, I leave you with these words of the great British poet, Sir Elton John. And what's it for? This empty garden by the brownstone door, and in the cracks along the sidewalk, nothing grows no more. Who lived here? He must have been a gardener that cared a lot, who weeded out the tears and grew a good crop. We are so amazed, we're crippled, and we're dazed. A gardener like that one, no one can replace. And I've been knocking, but no one answers. And I've been knocking most of the day. Oh, and I've been calling, oh, hey, Johnny, can't you come out to play?
Blessed was the hour when Father Shepherd knelt, humble before the presence that he felt. Then he created Olivet upon this hill, lighted the lamp of learning radiant still. His ancient faith hath taught us how to pray. Pro Christo et humanitate. Wilt thou take, O Olivet, our love for thee, to thy high goals for all that we should be. Make us thy sons and daughters ever know the truth. Thus in thy strength give purpose to our youth. God's blessing rest where we are pledged to say, Pro Christo et humanitate.
I was sitting in my living room the other day, trying to think up some clever words that I could say to summarize all of the memories and happy times. There's just one word that came to my mind. I'm thankful, oh, I'm thankful that I've been blessed to live life with such incredible people. I'm grateful, oh, so grateful for all the memories that we have shared. It's all been so wonderful. I'm thankful. And now, although it's time for us to go our separate ways, I thank God for you and every single day that we have spent together here. So now I confess it's been a privilege. I know I've been blessed. I'm thankful, oh, I'm thankful that I've been blessed to live life with such incredible people. I'm grateful, oh, so grateful for all the memories that we have shared. It's all been so wonderful. I'm thankful. I've been blessed to live life with such incredible people. I'm grateful.